2, 3.
Game on! Game on! It's gaming time! Excellent! Game on! Game on! It's gaming time! Excellent!
Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Goa Weekly Show. I am Straightjacket Jim. Who have we got tonight, people?
Let's see. It's myself and Stormy. Stormy's here. It's good to see you.
Looking a bit different. Had the bit of the Michael Jackson treatment.
Yeah, a bit.
Yeah.
Needs a bit of a shave on the old beard. Stormy does. But yeah, no. Hello.
Stormy's had the reverse manscaped.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is what happens when you go back the other way.
In dire need of a shave.
Yeah.
But hello.
Grumpy Goron is one of our wonderful writers from the GameOnAUS.com writing team. Stormy is off doing other things. I actually saw her. I saw her twits just a moment ago. I believe she's getting stuck into the new Lego Star Wars.
Oh, so good.
Yes, which we'll hear more about very soon. Before we dive into what are you playing, we got something special to kick things off tonight. Actually, we have a special guest, guys.
I like special.
Mm.
I'm very special. So my mum tells me.
Let me let me fill you in on what the dealio is here. And before we do get stuck into this, once again, we've got 2 weeks left of our Manscaped partnership. This is where, if you, like me, have never done the do, got the clippers around, your sad saggers down there, and made them a lot happier, certainly made mine a lot happier, you can get 20% off by using the code GOA at manscaped.com. And I can't recommend them thoroughly enough. Look, I know that this is an ad and it sounds like an ad. It's because it is an ad. But I'm legitimately keeping up with this, guys. This is the first time I've had a crack down there and just shaped them up a little bit and gone the smooth. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to keep going with this. So it's some good gear. We're going to play our Manscaped game a little bit later on. So it's like last week, you two facing off against each other. And I will be describing a particular game character who we believe is quite smooth down there. So we'll get to that a little bit later on. But a big thanks to Manscaped for jumping on board. But it's on to our guest. So our guest tonight came by way of one of our great community members. His name is Daz Action. And we have a channel in our Discord, discord.gameonaus.com if you want to go and check it out. Gaming news and updates. And he dropped this in a couple of weeks ago, and it basically said, this looks good for those into surfing. Incredible for a small team from Fremantle, WA. Is it safe to assume that Goa PD has known about this game since way back? And unfortunately, no, I didn't, though I had heard of the studio. The studio is Bungarra Software, proprietary limited. And the game is BL Pro Surfing 2022 launch trailer. Now, the big man behind it all, his name is Andrew. I'm just going to drag him up, so we're going to chat to him in just a tickety-boo. But he's been lovely enough, when I finally get to it, to actually join us. So just give me a moment. Here we go. And he's on mute. I'm just going to unmute him. Here we go. Let's see if that's worked. Andrew, have we got ya? Uh-oh. Should have tested it. Should have tested it, guys. Should have tested it.
Should have tested it.
Should have tested it.
I'm sure he's fine.
I don't know that he's fine.
Oh, no.
You think he's
I'm
fine?
doubting it.
Fine.
Is he okay?
Should have tested it. Goodness. Hang on. So he might still be on mute. Let me just chat to him. I'll chat to him behind the scenes. You guys just talk amongst yourselves.
All right, straight. What are we talking about?
So look, I'm like Pete. I didn't really know about this game myself, but I had been doing a little bit of research today, because that's what you do. And when I got a whole Wednesday off, I use it to research these lovely topics that we talk about, and just seeing the footage from this game, which will show you some trailers, and one in particular that's made with the in-game camera tools. It looks amazing, and not just that it looks amazing, but that they managed to get a whole heap of big names on board. Like there's a whole heap of like the actual proper surfing sponsors they've gotten involved. They've gotten the likenesses of a whole lot of different surfers, and it just to have it named after Barton Lynch, who is an Australian surfing legend, just seems really, really cool to me. And like, how cool must it be for him to have a game named after him?
I mean, I wouldn't mind it. I mean, I don't know what sort of game the Grumpy Goron game would be, but I'd get around it.
I imagine it'd be some sort of like Legend of Zelda spin-off game where you have to try and sneak around and not wake up the Goron somehow, like a stealth section in a Zelda game.
Don't wake up the Goron.
See, I don't mind that. Like that's fine. I would play that. I would review it. How nice would I be with it? You know, I'd obviously review it as legitimately as possible, but I'll obviously be slightly leaning towards the side of, I mean, it's got my name in it.
Yeah.
But obviously you got to review everything as it is. But yeah.
Just waiting here, guys. I'm just waiting. Just waiting. I'm just talking to him behind the scenes.
I'm trying to think what sort of a game that they would make.
Jack and Jim would be.
Yeah. Like that. Sure, it'd have to take place either in an insane asylum. So whether it would be like a stupid laughy thing, or like an Arkham type thing.
It'd be like an Arkham game, I reckon.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where I go around and just suddenly hit people and kidnap them and knock them out.
Or is it a platformer and it's Earthworm Jim, but in a straitjacket?
That's it. And instead of
Earthworm Jim.
That's it. And instead of like Earthworm Jim flicking out his worm-like body to latch onto stuff, you flick out the straitjacket arms. Hey, I think we've got.
I like it.
Wasn't it? Wasn't it just his head?
Yeah,
I think it was his head.
Yeah, his head was in a suit.
His head had the little wormy thing out the top of it. And then, I remember those days. That was a good game. I used to play it on this real old potato PC.
Like potato even for back then.
Well, a potato even for back then. Like, it used to play Lego Island. I used to play Lego Island on it. But even Lego Island would run so stilted. It felt like it was running at like 5 frames per hour.
Yeah.
Star Saber, thank you for the sub. We appreciate that. That's very kind. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I've never played Earthworm Jim, but I mean, it's a platformer, so I probably should have. But we'll get there.
I played it on the Super Nintendo. So, yeah, that was my platforming days. Everything on the Super Nintendo, because Sega sucks. We're not playing Sega games. Mario, everything, no Sonic.
Sonic is alright.
No, that's joking. Joking, people. Don't at me, people.
In small doses.
Yeah. But like, I couldn't get around my head, especially as a young kid. I couldn't get my head around Sonic. Like, you got to go fast, but if you go too fast, you can't work out what's going on. That's what it always seemed like to me.
Guys, I'm just going to jump out for a moment and see if I can help Bungera troubleshoot this issue.
No worries. That's all right.
All right, straight. What are we doing?
Well, let's
chat about?
Let's have a chat about what are we playing. So I know that you've got one there, Grumpy. So I'm gonna flick over. We're gonna show you the trailer for this game. So what are you playing at the moment?
Okay, so basically, I think this officially released last week, but I'm playing a DLC expansion for a game called Lost Judgment, the Kaito Files. So Kaito essentially is basically the secondary character in this duo, in the first game. So you play as a guy named Yagami. He's the head of this detective agency. His right-hand man is Kaito, and he's essentially like the big, bulky, like muscle man of the group, right? So he's the one that gets all the work done. So essentially, this game focuses on him. So Yagami, the protagonist of the original core game, is basically gone away on a case, and something comes up in Kamurocho, which is the location where the game's based in Japan. Something comes up, and he's basically got his ex lover goes missing. and her husband reaches out to him to help find her. Right, so essentially, it's like the main game. I think roughly went for about 20 odd hours. This one goes for around 6 to 8, and it's essentially just a smaller sort of side story campaign.
It's about what you'd expect for a DLC sort of thing.
Yeah, and essentially, like I'm penning the review for it now. The review will go up tonight for it.
Over on GameOnOz.com, check it out.
Over on GameOnOz.com, of course. But so, essentially, sorry, you go.
Well, I was just going to say, looking at the trailer, like the first bit of the trailer sort of strikes you as very detective-y, sort of like you're going around and you're finding clues and stuff like that. But then, like, most of the trailer seems to be more geared towards almost sort of Yakuza beat-em-up style gameplay. So is the trailer just showing that off? Because obviously that's the flashy stuff, you know, you're going around looking at clues could be quite boring as a trailer. So how much of that sort of mixture of action and puzzle solving is there in the game?
I'd say I think that the trailer's accurate in the sense that there is a lot more fighting in it, because it is a Yakuza game. It's a spin-off. So essentially the Judgment series is a Yakuza spin-off in which you play the role of a detective as opposed to a member of the Yakuza. There is a lot of that sort of fighting stuff still in it. There are moments where you walk around with like a sort of a camera, sort of first person sort of look, and you examine an area for clues. So instead, Kaito being the big muscly guy, is not as analytical as Yagami. So essentially, his way of finding clues is to basically just use his eyes, his hearing, and his sense of smell, which is interesting. Whereas like Yagami tends to break things down a lot greater because he's an actual detective. So basically, like he can smell an area and he goes, "Oh, there's smoke. Like what's going on here?" or something like that. And you can use it in weird different ways as well. Like basically, I was messing around with the smell ability, and I was messing around with the smell ability and in one of the little cafes, and I walked up to the fridge and basically just found a ham sandwich that I could take as an item.
I thought you were going to say you smelt the ham sandwich and then ate the ham sandwich.
Yeah, I think it was like an egg and ham sandwich, or like a ham and an egg and tuna sandwich or something. It was just like there's still those like weird Yakuza moments of just weird shit happening. But yeah, it's a bit interesting. Yeah. But no, I love it. Like in summary, it's a game that I really love. I loved the base game, and when you read the review a bit later on, you'll see that this DLC is very much the same, just in a more digestible sort of package.
Nice. Yeah, it's interesting that I was picking up the I'll get the word soon, Yakuza vibes. I had no idea that it was actually like a spin-off Yakuza story. But it just sort of had that feel about it. So I'm getting how much does Lost Judgment normally play into that sort of that Yakuza feel? Because like the Yakuza is a beat 'em up and it has those silly mini games that you play in there and that sort of thing. So does Lost Judgment still have that sort of thing as well, or is it more a serious spin-off?
I think there are elements. I mean, the reality for me is that I haven't actually played a core Yakuza game before. This was the first I've ever actually played, and this Lost Judgment game is actually the second Judgment game. Essentially, when I saw the trailers, I was that interested that I decided to jump in. But in terms of the similarities to the Yakuza games with like the wacky mini games and all that sort of stuff, like they are there. So essentially, you've got, I think there might be more in the core game, but there are some available to you in the side stories that are also in the core game. So you've got things like baseball, you can play shogi. There's a Club Sega arcade where you can actually access full versions of Sonic the Fighters and Virtua Fighter 5.
Oh, nice.
Which is cool. So like you can play the entirety of the Sonic the Fighters fighting game inside the Club Sega arcade inside Lost Judgment. So there are definitely mini games and such that you can mess around with, and they are silly, and there are silly moments as well, despite the fact that their core stories are very serious,
Yeah.
right? There are still those weird sort of zany moments, but yeah, no, it's kind of encouraged me more to jump into the Yakuza games after this. But for anyone that's either played those before or hasn't, from a first timer in this game, I loved it so much that I played the entirety of the main game and then came back for the DLC content.
Nice.
So I feel like that's a testament to how good the game actually is.
Yeah. No worries, and we'll look forward to your review coming out on GameOnOz.com later tonight.
Yes, correct. It should be up there in a little bit.
Nice. Well, people that know me, they know I'm a massive Star Wars fan, so there can only be one game that I'm playing at the moment, and that is Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. It is just, it's your typical Lego game, and I'm in for it. And it's, I was a little bit scared when I first saw this that it was going to be a lot of just taking the old levels from all the old Star Wars Lego games and putting them in a one collection and upscaling it or something like that. But it's not. It is totally redone. All the levels are different, and just the way it works is different. And to the point where if you just want to do the story, it's reasonably quick and straightforward. You can go from one to the other and do it pretty quickly. But, and here's the big but, when you get to, like, each planet that you go to has a mini overworld type thing. So you go in and that's where all the collectibles are. And it's just, there's so much to do, and it's still all the stuff like your mini kits, all the different bricks you can get, all the studs. It's such a fun experience. The combat's been totally redone as well from the original Lego games. Yeah, it's amazing. I'm loving it so much, and I've only played through the through the first the Phantom Menace. But Pete's back. How are we doing, Pete?
Hi, sorry. Yes, good. No, we won't be joined by Bung Arrow tonight, unfortunately. We will try again for next week.
Okay.
So for me, the Star Wars Skywalker Saga, the thing that I'm most looking forward to, or the thing that I'm most excited about, is the flying, and using all of the tech weapons, like the on the ships, the Millennium Falcon, the X-wing. What's it like? Tell me what it's like, mate. Is it good? Is it all it's cracked up to be, or what?
I haven't done a lot of flying yet. I've mainly sort of been... I'm about half... So I started on the Phantom Menace and I'm about halfway through Attack of the Clones. And, like, there are flying levels. Like, there's... Obviously, at the end of the Phantom Menace, you've got flying into the droid control ship. And the controls on that are pretty good. Like, even to the point where the game sort of works out what your active target is and puts a little white dot on the screen to say, here's the spot you need to be aiming for to hit your target. So, where you do the leading the target thing. And you've still got missiles and stuff like that. But I have just been having a lot of fun with it. And look, I don't feel I'm far enough into it to give too much about the flight, because I haven't done a lot of it just yet. But there's moments like this you see on the trailer where the Ewok pops out with his little boombox and the AT-ST starts dancing. To the point where I was playing as Qui-Gon Jinn, who is acted by Liam Neeson. And in the middle of one section, all of a sudden, the little Lego figure says, "I have a particular set of skills." And I was just like, yeah. I like that little Easter egg. I like that Taken reference. It's cool. So it's just a lot of fun, and collecting the stuff is just a nicety. And I'm glad they did that, because the mainline games are big, and like they're games on their own. So I'm glad they sort of made the episodes more compact, so that there's not as much there. They're more sort of bite-sized. The hub overworlds feel like they've got a lot going on. And there's just a lot of collectibles, and there's upgrades that you can get once you collect enough bricks to make finding the collectibles easier. You know, it'll point out on a map where they are, and you can just go and find them then. Work out the puzzle that you need to do to get the brick. Yeah.
Pretty wonderful, mate. Sounds marvelous.
Oh yeah, like I said, I'm having a brilliant time with it. And I bought the deluxe pack as well, so that came with in-game like Mandalorian Season 1 figures unlocked already, and the Solo movie little figures as well. So that's pretty cool seeing them in there.
I mean, it just hits all the right notes, these Lego games, don't they? You know, like if you're they've got such a wide audience that they've captured, but both Lego and Star Wars. I mean, those are two of the most wonderfully compatible organizations in the entire world, as far as like, you know, fan fun and all that sort of stuff. But the thing that I love about the Lego games is that when it comes to the writing, they just deliver. Deliver so consistently. The gameplay's great. You know, if you're going to be able to fly X-Wings and TIE Fighters and Millennium Falcons and, you know, and use the Force and all that sort of stuff, you're going to have a great time. If they stay true to the canon, you know, and you get to play through the stories you're such a fan of, you're going to have a great time anyway. But the thing that they tend to do so incredibly well with the Lego games is the writing, and in particular the humor.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm just so... They just make me so happy. They're just such joyish games to play. They're just so much fun.
Yeah.
So color me unaware, but did Star Wars, the Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens, did that have voice acting in it or not originally?
I don't know because I didn't play it.
Yeah, okay. Neither have I. Anyhow, the last one I probably would have played, which I can see over on my bookshelf, it would have been Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga on the Wii, I think, right? I think remembering back, those games had no voice acting, but this one does. Is that correct?
Yeah, I know the older ones don't. They had sort of a mumbly type thing.
Yeah.
But this game also has the option to bring the mumble back. So
right, okay. And even then, like, how does the humor play off when they actually, like, now that they actually speak? Like, I remember a lot of the funny moments of the original ones kind of came from the fact that they kind of only mumble, if you know what I mean.
I don't know because I pretty much put it in mumble mode straight away.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like Grumpy. Like, I think the mumbling sort of adds something to it. Like, you still get subtitles that come up, so you still get what they're saying, but honestly, it's Star Wars. You know what's going on.
And a lot of the humor they used to have was kind of physical humor.
Yeah,
like it was like from the visuals of the actual scene.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'll probably keep voices on from the start, I think, just to see kind of what it's like.
But yeah, it's the combat's been upped as well. So you can do combos in the game now, and that increases the studs that you get. You can counter things, and there's upgrades that you can get, so you get more studs from doing counters. So there's lots more ways you can earn studs to buy all the characters and unlock them and buy the upgrades and everything. Like I've been working heavily towards getting the first stud multiplier unlock. So the combat's a lot better than, and I have to say that I haven't played a Lego game since probably the original trilogy, which I think was the second Lego licensed game. Yeah.
Many now.
Yeah, oh yeah, so many. But Star Wars was the first, and I still think the best. But that just might be my my bias coming out there.
I think Lego City Undercover's pretty elite.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess like I've also seen in some trailer footage, the sort of it's almost like a third person behind the shoulder shooter now in the shooting segments. Like, what does that feel like?
It feels pretty good because you still got full 360-degree camera,
right?
Except when it comes to the flying bits. But all your combat and your moving around, you have control of the camera. So it is third person, but it's really good. I cannot stress enough how much fun I'm having with this. It's just, it hits the right tones with the humor and the combat in it with the camera. just it all comes together and just feels like a complete package.
You're a
Lovely.
complete package.
You should see my complete package, especially now that Manscaped's got to it.
Just it's a Manscape transition.
That's it.
Well,
What
shall I?
about Pete? I think you should dive into what you're playing, Petey.
Yeah, well, I came across a cheeky little roguelike. And I was looking for a little bit of hack and slash. I only really gotten into roguelikes maybe the past, I guess, 12 to 18 months, and haven't played too many of them. But when they pop up, I'm kind of like, okay, you know, because I do find roguelikes quite competitive. You know, they are quite rinse and repeat. Because, of course, you know, generally with roguelikes, the whole point is die, start at the beginning, go again. But I came across this one and it got me a little bit from the very beginning. I need to actually see if I can find... Give me 1 second, because I took a screenshot of the very opening screen. So the game's called Dreamscaper. It's on Switch, it's on Steam, it's on Epic. I don't know if you guys have heard of this game or you've come across this game.
I hadn't.
But I've already Googled it.
It looks pretty damn cool.
It's well, the thing about it is it's gorgeous. Like it is beautiful, and it's not unusual for me to call a game gorgeous or beautiful, or you know. But the thing that appealed to me is just the setting of it. So that, you know, I quite like, and I feel like we're getting a lot of them, particularly in the last sort of 2 or 3 years. But the setting is quite dystopian. So the moment that you enter the game, already there's a mystery. Already there's I want to know what's going on here. Why has this place that I'm looking at become so desolate? But you play as Cassidy, and there's 2 different worlds. There's a sleeping world and a waking world, which is, you know, the dreamscape is the world that you know, essentially play most of the game through. And the waking world is kind of like your go back to world. So the waking world's quite static, but you open up the world as you continue to progress through the game. Whereas the dreamscape part of the world is actually the part that's on reset, the part where you start again. God, I can't believe I'm having trouble actually remembering this particular bloody roguelike off the top of my head. But just to kind of bring it back to a roguelike that most people probably would have played the last couple of years. It's the one where you're going through hell.
Hades.
Thank you, Hades. So, you know,
how could you forget Hades? It's only won like 5 Game of the Year awards from.
I know. I'm having a week. I am having a week. So Hades, you know Hades, how you've got the, like, you know, if we were to call one the waking world and one the dreamscape. The waking world is the central chambers, you know, the place where you've got your bedroom, you've got your weaponry, you've got all of that sort of stuff. Excuse me. So that's the waking world part of Dreamscaper. And then, you know, Hades, you jump out the window and you drop down onto the first sort of open area, you defeat the enemies, you move on to the next one, and then you defeat the enemies, move on to the next one, progress a bit harder. That's the Dreamscape part of this. They're both quite similar in terms of, you know, you got power-ups, you got weapons, you've got enemies to attack, so on and so forth. But the thing that whereas Hades is quite, you know, from the outset, you know the story, you know that, you know, you just want to escape. You just want to get out of there. You've had enough of being in that area. You've had enough of being in hell. You've had enough of your old man. You know, he's giving you the shits. I just want to get out. Yeah. Right?
I feel
Whereas
that.
Dreamscaper is more, oh, okay, what has happened here? What is going on? And as you progress through and generally open up the actual Dreamscape side of things, it allows you to completely open up and unlock the waking world part, and, you know, you start to open this mystery up a little bit. So, yeah, it's something that keeps me coming back. Hades didn't keep me coming back quite often. I probably played Hades for about 3 months solid and then got a little bit tired of it, whereas I feel like this one I'm going to be able to pick it up maybe half an hour to an hour a day and and keep coming back to it because there's just enough to keep me coming back to it in terms of the story.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a bit of a mystery to unsolve there, whereas Hades is just you want out. And while little bits and pieces change, and I think where Hades' stories got really good was just through little changes that happened to, was it Tartarus? I think was the hub world in that.
Yep.
On each replay, and this one, I think it sounds like what you're saying is that the mystery unravels of why this town's so desolate, and just looking at, like, when I first watched the trailer, the first thing that struck me was the music. Like, that is some banger piano tunes happening in there.
Oh, the music is beautiful. The music is wonderfully set to, the atmosphere. It plays wonderfully into the hands of the atmosphere that they've created. The artwork is just gorgeous. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's a place where you can genuinely get yourself lost in. And it's kind of, the Dreamscape part of it in particular is kind of a mix of, God, you're sort of walking through the streets of some dystopian society mixed with being on an ethereal plane. That's probably the best way that I can describe it. There's the shimmer of all of the metallic imagery around you, and it's just wispy. Like that's if I had to explain it, if I had to try and put it into words without people seeing it, and I suppose we are watching a bit of it on the screen as we speak, but it's just, I mean, look at this. You can see exactly what it is that we're looking at right now. Those little portals that you're seeing as part of these levels, those are actually, again, likening it back to Hades in terms of something people have probably played if they haven't played this. When you open a new door, or you've got to go, am I going to choose to go forward, left, or right? That's that. The other thing that this game mixes in quite well, which I really enjoyed, was that it's a bit puzzly as well.
Okay, yeah,
there are puzzles in it.
I have seen there's that little tile puzzle that's been popping up in the trailer, so I do like that there's a little bit of a puzzle every now and then. What do those things get you? Do they get you like extra bonuses going through the level?
Oh, they're just part of progression, and you tend to get like drops throughout everything. You're always picking up drops along the way. There's one other thing, and this is just a tiny little thing, and I'm interested to get your thoughts on this because I don't know if I'm thinking too much about it, right? But it's just something I love. It's just a little touch that I love. When you dodge and when you get a dodge timer right, the game goes into slow motion for just a split second. So, for example, I'm just watching the trailer that we're watching right now as we speak, on our show, and I'm just waiting for something in particular to come up that can just sort of show us something. There you go, face your nightmares. All right, see how we're fighting at the moment. Whether they're actually throwing something at you or firing something at you or taking a swing at you, if you dodge at the right time, the game just slows down for just a moment as you dodge out of that attack. And the entire game slows down. Not just you, but the entire game. Whatever it is they're throwing at you or the swing or whatnot. And it's just it's just a neat little touch. It's just like a little 1%er that I really appreciate. It really goes another level in terms of giving you the feeling that you've dodged something.
Yeah.
Like
it lets you know that you were successful.
Yeah. And I admire that. Like, that's the sort of thing where, I say to people, you got to play a game like this, because for me, it's those little things where they've really thought deeply about how they're designing and executing this game. And they've really thought deeply about the little extra touches that they can put into this game just to make you feel it just a little bit more. Just
on that, there's one thing I wanted to bring up from the Skywalker Saga Lego collection, because it's one thing that drives me mad when you get like an escort mission or something and you walk at a different pace to what the thing that your escorting does.
Oh,
I've heard about this.
It does my head in, but it's not an escort. It's just like a walking exposition part. So you'll be walking alongside an NPC, and they'll be telling you stuff. Blah 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 blah. But when you are in like a little radius around this NPC, you walk at the same speed as they do. So if you have your stick all the way forward, you will still walk at their pace. And like saying, Pete, it's the little things. And when I saw that, I went, "This is amazing!" Like, escort missions are bad at the worst of times, but this has just made it so much nicer.
Yeah, it is. It's those little things. It's the little things to go. Well, it's the see something, do something proposition. You know, particularly with something like that. Because I'm the same. I think I used to get the shits on with Skyrim a lot, because you would activate an NPC who would say, "Come with me to the next town," and they'd walk there, and your basic walk was like twice as fast, and you just have to wait for them.
Yep.
And it's frustrating. I totally.
Yeah, but by the same token,
Sorry, you go straight.
So, but with the same token, there was only in an arc around the NPC, so that if you got outside that arc, you could still go and blow up canisters and collect your studs, and then run back and do all that sort of stuff as well. So I think it's quite a clever little mechanic.
I was just going to say, is Dreamscaper actually hard as a roguelike? Like, obviously it's a roguelike, but is it actually difficult in your experience?
Look, I have only just started playing it this week, so what I found was I didn't find it necessarily difficult. What I found is that if you manage your economy well, then you're going to have a pretty good time. Because I feel like with this, what they've gone for is this isn't just hack and slash, get you through levels, see how you can skill up, and just keep hammering away. They've gone, we want you to progress through a story here. So much in the same way that Elden Ring, I guess, has opened it up, put in the open world, giving you an opportunity to actually discover, rather than, I guess, cock block you with, uber hard enemies and such. And they are hard enemies, don't get me wrong. But much in that sort of way where there's less of an emphasis on, let's make this incredibly hard and let's put up walls. There's more of an emphasis on, we want you to get through the story so you can appreciate the story.
Yeah.
And as you can appreciate, mate, with your, experience, and what you're going into professionally, like it's, if you're going to have a story, you've got to find that balance between difficulty and not making it so hard that you stop the momentum of the story playing out.
Yeah, and I mean, in a roguelike, that building a story that flows well is a very hard thing to do. I think, obviously, talking about Hades probably being one of the best examples of a roguelike that does tell a story in a good way. But yeah, exactly, it's obviously an important element to have.
Mm-hmm.
So that's mine.
Nice. All these games, man. I always love hearing what other people are playing. It's just, it warms my heart to see all the good games that we see out there. And was a little bit saddened this week when I heard that one of the giants of the industry, where we get a lot of new game information from, isn't returning for 2022, and that was E3 is cancelling their digital show for this year. So back in January, they announced that they weren't going to do an in-person show, that they were pivoting to a digital event again. Obviously, COVID makes everything quite hard to do events the last couple of years, but the fact that they've cancelled their digital event, that's hard. That hits them, because to me, even before COVID hit, they were sort of on the downslope a little bit. When you got your big companies like Sony doing their state of play and EA doing their thing and Nintendo just doing directs. What was it? Was it 2017? Nintendo only brought Breath of the Wild to E3. Granted, it was Breath of the Wild and it was done really well. They supported the shit out of it, but all these shows are opting for the digital presentations where they can pre-record and make it work better, because I always remember when Skyward Sword was released on the Wii and they brought out Miyamoto and he was sitting there trying to get the Wiimote to work properly and it didn't. Their flagship guy on one of their flagship games couldn't get the controls to work properly, whereas if you do a pre-recorded format then you can make sure all that works. And I think E3 has suffered a bit from that already. I should say that they are planning to come back with an in-person event next year, so it's not going anywhere. It's just this year's events that's been cancelled. But I just wonder about the survivability of E3 full stop.
Well, it's just weird. Like, did they state a reason as to why they're not doing it?
Let me just have a
because I mean, like the thing with E3 is that, I mean, ever since Nintendo, I can't remember what year it was, but Nintendo pulled out of showing there a while ago, right? Obviously, that was the birth of the Direct. It might honestly have been in the Wii U era when they stopped actually attending E3, in terms of showing like the showcases physically on the floor. Over the recent couple of years, obviously, your Sony, your Xbox, or your Microsoft per se, have obviously distanced themselves from doing their physical showcases there as well. It's obviously more now of a in-person, attempt to try the games or line up for 8 hours to try the game type thing.
Curiously, Microsoft, sorry to interrupt you there, but curiously, Microsoft haven't done that sort of stuff. Like they're still investing big bucks into their stage shows. Yeah,
which is obviously interesting, because the others have obviously pulled out. I know PlayStation had PSX for a few years. I'm not sure if you remember this PlayStation Experience. They had their own shows a couple of years back. I think that might have been when the Vita was out. But yeah, going back to it real quick, I mean, like over the last couple of years, they opened E3 up to the public, so it became like a PAX. I don't know whether or not that was a good decision or not, and whether or not that has any bearing on the fact that they cancelled it this year. Not too sure. But yeah, it's definitely interesting as to why that they've stopped it this year, because I know there's been a couple of years where it's been digital only.
Just on why they stopped. So the article that I'm reading, it sounds like the E3 and the ESA sent out a notification to some exhibitors, because the first news of it that broke was Will Powers, who is a peripheral PR for Razer, so peripheral manufacturer, putting on Twitter that it's been cancelled for 2022. So that was the first news of it that broke. And from the article that I'm reading on The Verge, there's not a lot of information directly from ESA about why it was cancelled, just that it was. But I would hazard a guess that because they opened it up to the public and turned it from a trade show to a con, really, I think they need that foot traffic to survive, and without it, they probably crunched the numbers after the digital event last year and went, "We can't do this. We need to, we need to try something else." And they've just cancelled it for this year.
I don't know if E3 is relevant anymore.
I think there's still a place for it. There's still a place to, because.
We've lost Grumpy.
Yeah, he's dropped out of the video. I'm not sure if he's still hanging around. Oh, apparently the cat wasn't behaving, so he's gone to deal with the cat.
So let me expand on that thought for a moment. I don't know that E3 is relevant, and it might be relevant as an in-person, but as a digital event, I don't think it is. If E3 is going to just be companies showing off their wares, I think companies are savvy enough now to know that they would rather bring that stuff back in-house through their own social media, through their own websites, through their own channels. Because at the end of the day, that's all traffic. That's all traffic back to them. That's all traffic that links back through all of their stuff. It's also a stage that they don't have to share with their competitors. My gut feeling tells me that if you're a company who's, say for example, your Xbox, if you've been through the ringer the last couple of years and you've had to manage your executions around being digital only anyway, then E3 without the foot traffic is not providing you anything unique. It's not providing you anything different. It's not giving people an opportunity to get hands-on with your stuff. So I'm kind of like, why hand, as a brand, why hand another brand a heap of your IP and your announcements and all of that gear and send all of that traffic through E3 where they can also see PlayStation and Nintendo and other bits and pieces, and that message gets, watered down in a sense because it is amongst all of the others as well. It's in this big cloud full of shit. There's a lot in there, and your messages can get lost in all of that. You're probably just going, we don't need to do this. We can do it ourselves. So, that's my hot take on it. I think as long as E3 remains digital, companies are saying to them, we can do it ourselves.
Yeah.
I would counter that.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
I agree.
I'll hear your thoughts first, Gumpy, because I've got a rebuttal to that I need to get off.
Well,
my chest.
I agree entirely that it doesn't really have a place anymore. But from a selfish point of view, I wish it did. There is a spectacle to it.
Yeah. I get it. We got the you're breathtaking moment. Like that's, you know what I mean? And that's great. And that is great if you've got crowds and you've got the ability to have, 100,000 people blow through there over a weekend, and you've got all those shares, likes, retweets, those hashtags, those people capturing it, and those moments are able to happen. But unfortunately, without the excitement of the crowd and without the spontaneity of the crowd, then the other thing is your breathtaking doesn't happen, and if it does, it's scripted and it doesn't land as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think the reality as well is that, like you said, they prefer to deliver the message in their own way when they actually want to do it, when they're ready in their particular spin in which they want to present things, without having to worry about anyone else and what they might show. There's obviously the benefit of that, but then again, there was just something cool about being able to sit down for the week. It was always, for me, throughout high school, it was always and uni as well, it was always during exam period, which sucked, but it was always a nice thing to come home to, or to sit, have on in the background. So in a selfish way, I do miss that, we're not going to have that anymore, and not have that week in June where, we just get all this information. But at the same time, there isn't really a reason for it anymore, as sad as that might be for some people.
So my question to you guys then would be, if the digital doesn't work for E3, why does it work for something like the Game Awards? Because let's face it, 90% of the Game Awards is announcements and trailers and ads that they've sold to fund what they do there. So why does it work on something like that with Jeff Keighley, but not with E3? Is it because E3 has been an in-person event in the past, but then again, it's always been on the downslide before COVID as well? So how can one relative newcomer, even though the Game Awards have been going since 2014, I think, do it, but E3 can't?
I think because the unique content you're getting out of the Game Awards are the awards itself. I think it's something that, see, for me, it's as a company, you're not having to put something on. You might do your announcements, we've got Hideo Kojima, who it's the most famous one for me that comes to mind, where he did the big reveal of whatever the hell it was. Sorry, I can't remember because I'm
Death
having.
Stranding, I think.
You know,
Yep.
like that. You know, there's that sort of stuff. But the way that the Game Awards are set up, you know, you've got this event like the Oscars, like the BAFTAs, like the, you know, I think it lends itself more to a telecast. I think it's always been there. You know, sure, you've had a crowd, but the crowd's just you've got a small crowd sort of in amongst the theatre where they actually film it, and all. It all happens on the one stage, and you've got Jeff Keighley, and I think Jeff Keighley is as much the Game Awards as the Game Awards are Jeff Keighley. I think they're one in the same, so people tune in for him as well. I think it's, for me, because it's an awards ceremony, and as a company, you can't really own something like that. And don't get me wrong, there's an argument there, which is a great question from you, man. Why does it work? There's an argument there why companies would announce at the Game Awards digitally. I just think it works a little bit better as a format. And that might not be the answer, if there is even an answer, but if I had to gauge it something, that's why I think that works.
Cool.
Plus, it's also, I think technically it also is an in-person event. Obviously, the public isn't there, but there are crowds generally at the Game Awards.
Well, interestingly as well, Jeff Keighley used to work at E3 on their streaming side of things. So
correct.
He used to do the Coliseum, I think, which is so doing that transition for him from the Coliseum at E3 to his own thing there, where he's an executive producer and got a lot more control. I think. I feel like I've been a little bit down on the Game Awards for being a lot of marketing, but to me it is, but it's good marketing because it's a lot of really cool stuff that you see. And yes, it's the bigger studios or bigger publishers that are showing off what they've got, but I still want to see that. You know, publishers like Devolver Digital get involved, and I love what they do with their stuff. Like, they've always got something good on the boil there, and I don't know. Yeah, it's sad for me to see the demise of the in-person events, and because there's digital events are great for looking at, but the in-person events are where you try and where you talk with other people and express about what your feelings are about this, and it's just a huge networking opportunity as well, and which you don't get from the digital events.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely true. And I mean, the thing with Jeff Keighley is that he's probably licking his lips right now.
Oh yeah,
there's nothing saying that he can't come out and make his own thing, because he's going to.
Well, for
goodness sake, he's got Summer Game Fest, which goes for I don't think it ever ends, to be honest.
Yeah, I was about to say, not long after the E3's cancellation news broke, he's already there saying Summer's Games Fest will return in June in his tweet, and so he's saying, "Oh, it's sad, but look, we're still here." Yeah,
he's jumping
correct.
On.
Yeah,
100%.
That's it. He saw the opportunity and he took it. Cool.
Straight, my friend, I know we have a big question to get to for a cheeky brief. Shall we dive in?
I think we should, because it's a really, really simple one. We've been talking about it for the last sort of 10 minutes or so. How do you feel about E3 being cancelled? What are your thoughts on it?
I'll give you my hot take very quickly. Doesn't bother me in the slightest. Doesn't bother me.
Here's another question just for you, Pete. Would it bother you if you could have attended?
That would make it different. So yes, if I could have attended, absolutely, I'd have an issue with, because I'd love to go to an E3. I would.
Yeah.
I would absolutely love to go to an E3, just like I'm hanging out to go to PAX. And there's also the 2 years of no events the last couple of years that we've had to swan through as well. So there's that adds to it. But considering that it's a digital event, considering that all of the companies we were going to see there making announcements digitally are going to do it on their own anyway, I'm not fussed that we're not getting digital E3 this year. It doesn't bother me.
Cool. All right. Well, that's it for the weekly show. We got through another one, guys. Yay! Thank you so much. Thank you so much for. Oh,
Hang on, we're gonna play the game.
We got
the game.
We got our ball sack game.
We almost forgot the game. All right, hang on. I'm
Game.
gonna turn off Twitch chat because I got in trouble for this last week.
All right, so
I'll hide mine.
Twitch chat. Twitch chat's not allowed to help. It's between you two. There's going to be just one. Okay. This game comes to you courtesy of Manscaped. 20% off all Manscaped gear with free shipping when you head to manscaped.com. Trust me, your balls will thank you. But this game is I'm going to start describing a video game character who I firmly believe manscapes themselves. Are you ready for this? It's the first one of you to jump in with the answer, okay?
All right, let's do
Here
it.
we go.
Yep, let's go.
I'm very curious to see how you guys go. All right. He was born in 2511 and lived with his mother and his father in Elysium City on the colony world of Eridanus II. He attended the Elysium City Primary Education Facility number 119. As a child, he had brown hair, freckles, and a small gap between his front teeth. In a dream during cryosleep, he recalled that his mother kind of smelled like soap and that she had large eyes, a straight nose, and full lips.
Was it Master Chief?
Oh, congratulations, good sir. It is indeed Master Chief.
Hey.
Well done.
Lovely. Good job.
Lovely. Thank you.
I was clueless.
I had to skip a couple of things there because there were things that would have given it away. If I had said cryosleep aboard the UNSC Pillar of Autumn.
Then I might have got it.
Yeah.
And the next thing
I'm not a Halo guy.
No.
The next thing I was going to come out with was the would-be UNSC Marine Lieutenant Parisa was a childhood friend and so on and so forth. And then, of course, if you guys didn't get there, eventually you were going to hear that he was an ideal physical and mental candidate for the 150-strong preliminary pool of the Spartan 2 program.
Hey.
And that would have just been a dead giveaway.
That's it. Yeah, I was originally going down. My head sort of went Mass Effect first, and I thought maybe it's a Commander Shepard, but then no, they can be male or female depending on which character you choose. So I'm not sure. But yeah, we got there. Woo!
We got there, guys. Well done. Well done, gents. Well done.
That's it.
And a big thanks to Manscaped for joining us again this week on the potty. Don't forget 20% and free shipping if you use the code GOA when you head to manscaped.com. Guys, it's been fun. I've had a good time. Thank you.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for all of your support. You can do a little bit more though.
You can.
Hit us up on our YouTube. Drop us a subscribe. Is that how the cool kids say it?
Exactly right,
Smash
mate.
that subs button.
Smash that subs button!
And yeah, you get to enjoy more Goa content.
Do it.